pivoting. That's what it feels like.
I don't know. Eric July made several $1 million from his comic books, but really, it's unfair if anyone says anything negative about him. I don't think we should be allowed to do that.
Well, I mean, he's got some healing to do himself. We went over his finances last night again, and yeah.
Did Gooding hit 200,000? I'm sure it's like 200,000, right?
No, I don't think so.
No. I mean, it's Gooding. What do you mean? Yaira hit $1 million. So Gooding was probably what, $500,000 right now? Let me see here.
Vito, it's not funny, okay?
I'm not making a joke. It says right here, 1.7 million. That's pretty good.
Vito, Gooding is literally sitting at 5% of the earnings of Ice on number one.
No.
It is not funny.
There's a 1 and a 7. That's 1.7 million, right?
No, it's 170,000. It's 5%. He has lost 90% of his audience because of us, and it's not funny, and it's time to stop.
I don't think that's correct. That can't be correct.
I don't think the math is mathing on that one.
Wait, Gooding's the most exciting character in the whole. Everyone loves Gooding.
Now hold on, somebody here is going to be more of a better polymath than me. The Gooding Ice on number one raised $3.7 million. Okay,
right,
and now what's left over? What have we done? Okay, Gooding is sitting at 170,000. What percentage is 170,000 of 3.7 million? Can somebody do that math? Do we have a polymath around here? Anyone?
That's like half, right? Like half.
No, that's not half. Half would be like nearly $2 million. I can do that.
Hold on. 25%.
No, 25% would be
21.
$1 million.
It's almost 22.
Huh.
So what percentage? Chris Bacon knows. Chris Bacon, are you there, King Chris? What happened?
This is base 10. This is base 10. Base 12.
Anybody good at percentages? Chris Bacon? Could you figure out what percentage 170,000 is of 3.7 million? Because I got to know the damage that my actions.
Less than 5%.
4.4%.
Less than 5%.
Someone is saying
4.6%, 4.43%.
Yeah, let me see.
We have literally annihilated the Ripaverse.
Yeah, but hold on, Ethan. There's still 30 days to go, so it could hit like 2 million.
That's true. That's true.
We gotta wait it out.
Well, what if by the time my campaign rolls around, he's already out of business? So
I'm going to stop. Tony, you should stop too. You're going to bring this man down to peanuts. He's going to be crumbs. He's got warehouse employees to feed. Have you seen them? They don't even know which. They're so dizzy over there from losing 95% of their backers. They don't even know which way to look. Do you see that ad of them sitting there in those sweatshirts, all turned around? They look like each one of them have been spun around and hit with a sack of rice in the head. They're very, very upset.
I think that was just Brandon's eyes looking in two directions, trying to direct people.
Oh my God.
Those NDAs, man.
We got to do better than this, guys. We got to just apologize.
This guy out.
Riley, and that's not acceptable.
Hey, everybody watching. Back Gooding, the polymath.
Well, you know
Back
what really
today.
You know what's really hurting Gooding is
what?
For Yaira, he was able to trot the Sasuke sisters around, and they're just media darlings, so he could get them on, Yellow Flash's stream, and he could get them on Friday Night Tights, and they could show up and they could do their little witch magic tricks for the audience.
Yeah.
But he can't, Mike Barron doesn't know any like Satan tricks that he could do. He hasn't getting. I don't think he's going on a lot of streams promoting, as far as I've seen. Has he done any streams? Has Mike Barron gone on any of these shows?
No, he's on my show all the time. I don't know if he goes on it. Yeah, Mike Barron is Mike. Well, I don't know. It's
so he
your
comes
mileage.
On, he says, hey, you got to get that Gooding.
Yeah.
Is he going to go to Denver Fan Expo with them next week?
I don't know if he was invited. Yeah.
I feel like when you do a huge campaign, maybe you wait a couple months before just stealth dropping another book. That's they got a bunch of good guys over there. When's Az making a comic book?
I don't know.
He's writing a Shungite, isn't he?
Pronoun pounder.
Sturgily.
I support
look,
you, Tony. Give up. That's what I'm saying. Giving up.
Yeah. So
don't
we have
worry, guys.
destroyed 95% of their funding. And you know what? Like, according to the transparency report that we looked at last night, Vito,
Yeah.
3.7 million wasn't enough to fund even a quarter.
That's what he said. I want to hope that he's spending less money, but I don't think he is. I think he's spending more money.
Yeah.
Well, he is spending more money, but he said that campaigns, he's not doing them anymore because they're not what he's trying to accomplish. Katie has a clip. We should watch that.
Okay.
Yeah, Eric comes here. Eric's one of those guys who goes, I found a way to make money, so I got to stop doing that. And you're like, why? What do you mean?
He was doing fine before. Honestly, I blame us. I do blame us for this. This is almost entirely our fault.
Legally speaking, I take no blame for any of his comics failing.
No, I think Dick Masterson is to blame 100%. Dick Masterson did say, I want to destroy Eric's business, and he has. So it is.
I mean, it's Eric's, but Eric could have at any point, just been like, yeah, maybe he's got some good points. Maybe he knows.
Or just ignore him. Just completely
ignore him or anything.
No.
Bad News with a 5 says, I've been reliably informed that you hate campaigns. Isn't it true that Gooding still crowdfunded? Why did you kill JFK? What's up, Mike? Has Bad News. Campaigns, I mean, yeah, if I wanted to put out like a book or maybe 2 a year, then yeah, I guess campaigns could make sense. But at that point, it's like my aspirations are way greater than that. So it doesn't make sense.
Way greater. He's a fucking writer. He said way greater.
Rely on the campaign format.
Mr. Irrelevant.
For others that can either only afford that, or that's really just where their aspirations are, then more power to them. It just doesn't make sense for us at all.
No, he's right.
Yeah, $3.7 million campaign versus
most people. But it makes no sense at all. We talked about this before stream, Tony. I can't even begin to understand how the fuck he came to this conclusion. I mean, fiscally, it makes absolutely no sense. You make $9 million off of 4 campaigns, and it doesn't make sense for you anymore.
He's moving differently, guys.
I think he thinks that he's going to hit 1 million. Like every campaign is guaranteed 1 million. So he's like, well, we don't need campaigns. We can just put the comics on. Each one's going to hit 1 million. We're just going to generate revenue all year round by putting these comics out one after the other, after the other, after the other. Man, his pay piggies are getting fucking drained.
Well, if anything, what my numbers showed that they all despised greatly is all of these campaigns have a very predictable pattern. And when it comes to releasing, he knows deep down, because the numbers don't lie. After 6 days, he's raised 70% of what he's going to raise from that offering, whether it's a campaign, whether it's this Gooding. So he knows now that that number is not going to move more than another 30% roundabouts as long as it's left up in this pre-order situation. He also knows for a fact from the campaigns that his split of revenue is about 55-45 comics versus merch. And for him to eliminate the huge amount of merch on purpose to say, you know what, I don't need that 45% of revenue from all of these merch items. He cannot be looking at this objectively. There's no world where what he's doing makes any sense whatsoever. And I look at this and it's just in complete amazement that he would come to this conclusion.
So let's think about that, Chris. Let's talk about this creatively. Let's talk about this as a business. And let's look at Yaira and consider, why did Yaira, first of all, Yaira also, continued the sinking ship descent of the Rippaverse. It was doing terribly. It did less than Alpha Core. Alpha Core was a piece of shit too. Alpha Core did less than ISOM 2, which did half of ISOM number 1. So the sinking continues unabated. Merch costs money to make. See, this is the thing that like Eric understands that I understand too. Baseball caps cost $9 or $10 to make, and you can sell them for 20, 25, maybe 30. Comic books, after you've got them produced, after you've got a comic book produced, they cost $2.50 to print. Most of them. Mine cost more because they're better. We sent the Fearsome previews out to print. We're paying $4.95 for those bitches because they're just better quality comics. But they cost more to print. They cost less to print, and there's more revenue. So if you're paying between $2 and $5 to print a comic book that you can sell for $30, $35, it doesn't, and you can keep it like they always have, like, there are way more people that are buying the comics than are buying the baseball caps or the t-shirts. It's almost like you should just kind of eliminate the most of the merch. And Eric has minimum order quantities on these merch items. He's got to order a certain 1,444 baseball caps probably. Yeah. That's his minimum order. They got to sit in his warehouse. He can't sell 1,400 baseball caps. He can't sell.
That's why he's fire saled all those posters and stuff, because he's like, oh God, what the f was I thinking?
They're just sitting there, like, for all the posters that he sold and the revenue that you saw from those. His warehouse is stuffed with this shit, and he probably didn't turn a profit on it. Isn't that crazy?
Well, from that perspective, again, and that was something that everyone noticed, whether it was with the ISOM books or whatever, but particularly after ISOM 1, he had the hubris to think that every campaign was going to perform the same as the last. Because
he thought the ISOM 1 campaign wasn't over. He made $3.8 million, and then he said, I'm going to print another 100,000 books. And you're like, what?
Yeah, you sold to all your customers and then some. No, he thought the ISOM number 1 campaign was the floor. He thought it was, I just bought my McDonald's franchise. It made $1 million this year, but it's going to make 2 or 3 next year. It's going to grow.
But again, like, where you can see it is from his numbers, as far as he sold of the when he got done with the ISOM 1 campaign. When he did ISOM 2, he printed as many books as he sold for the ISOM 2 campaign. And he did the same thing off Alpha Core. Even though he downgraded, he still was in his mind, I'm going to print as many books as I sold from the last campaign, because certainly these customers are going to be here. And they've left for a variety of reasons. But his thought process on doing this, and again, EBS, you write books, Vito, you're putting one together. In what world would you ever pre-order without any support thousands, in his case, tens of thousands of books that are now sitting in a warehouse? Like, whenever he posts pictures of his warehouse, like one of them, he's got like pallets sitting behind him that are shrink wrapped with ISOM and a freaking Sharpie. I mean, he's sitting on a ridiculous amount of product.
Bro, I asked for just a handful of copies. I said I want some comp copies of ISOM number 2. He sent me 2 crates. Like, I would never send 2 crates of anything. Like, if a cover artist wanted comps, if I'm generous, you might get 10 copies. You're not getting a crate, much less 2 crates. He's got way too much of this stuff. And he sent Shane Davis the same thing. 2 crates of his $100, shiny cover. But he's buried under this shit. Right? Remember that post that I think I did when I was still detracting Tony, back in the day. Yeah. I think I did a trash cast stream where I showed that, a bunch of Rippaverse employees were posing with one of the guys from charity who was there to pick up pallets of worthless comics, and behind them, accidentally, the photographer caught an image of a stack of unfolded, like unrolled posters. And it was like, there were at least 9,000 posters sitting there, just stacked up behind them, of ISOM standing there, the ring can pick.
No one should do posters unless they're like folded up and fit inside the comic book. Ethan, do you sell posters? It's like,
yeah, we sell posters. Look, posters are weird. We do regular posters, and we'll sell a few hundred Cyberfrog posters.
Tubes. You can keep those tubes around.
Yeah, they take up a lot of space because we get everything pre-rolled too and wrapped. People love our specialty posters when we do velvet flocked, blacklight posters. They sell great. They make a lot of money, but
at least you don't overprint them to the point where they're just sitting in a warehouse for 10 years.
No, I keep my margins pretty tight when I'm able to because I want to sell out.
Yeah. Jim is claiming that there's still 702 Yaira statues kicking around.
Yep.
That sounds very possible.
Well, isn't there a minimum order? So if he doesn't even hit the goal,
the minimum order Yaira
get it
for something like a Yaira statue. There's a minimum order. Like with the action figures, when we do Cyberfrog action figures, there's a minimum order quantity, which makes it a lot riskier. And the minimum order quantity is thousands. So you have to make sure that you can pre-sell enough with the crowdfunding campaign to pay for the minimum order quantity, because a Cyberfrog action figure is about 1/4 of what we charge for it. That's the cost. That's basically how you scale price. So we have to make sure that we can sell 25% at least of the Cyberfrog action figures in order to pay the manufacturing costs and the shipping and all that stuff. It's something else. So, having Eric do these Yaira statues is very, very risky. There's no profit in it. And he has a middleman. He has McFarlane Toys in there. I don't have a middleman. It's just me and the manufacturer and the people who buy the toys. Eric's got a third party in there, which makes it so that he's probably got to sell about a little more than half or 1/6 of the Yaira statues in order to break even. And that would be my estimate. That would be my guess about this. But he's got to pay McFarlane to do this.
That's man. I was fighting with Mike Miller about that. He's like, "What do you mean it's not impressive that he's making Todd McFarlane statues?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I could go to Todd McFarlane and be like, here's a giant pile of money to make Super Killer statues, but I'm not going to do it because they're just going to sit around. If you can't sell them, there's no point, There's a lot of guys who are just like, no, just the fact that it exists is incredible. I'm like, no, giving Todd McFarlane a big pile of your money is not nearly as impressive as you guys seem to think it is. It's great for Todd. I'm sure Todd's very happy about it, but I don't think it's a good thing. I wouldn't do okay. Why don't I just give Todd McFarlane $1 million? Would that be really impressive to you guys if I just handed it to him and walked away?
If you had $1 million to hand to him, that would be impressive.
Yeah, hey, Todd, here's all my money. Look at what I did for comics. I gave Todd money.
Super Tizo says Eric said that there was a 500 minimum order, but the maximum is 1050. I think personally that 1050 is the actual minimum order.
That's right.
From Todd
500 is his break-even point.
Yeah.
So
he hasn't even sold 500.
There's no such thing as a maximum order. You can order as many statues as you want. You could order 1,060 statues. No, 1050 is the minimum order, and Eric has. I'm probably exactly right in what I said. 500 is the minimum order that Eric needs to sell of those statues at $500 in order to break even. So he told everybody, "Look, 500. That's cool. That's where we're aiming." Where is he now? Is he
490? No, it's like 390.
300.
So he's losing money on the statues.
He's bleeding money on the statues. Obviously, I don't get why people don't understand the economics of any. You know what? But
here's the thing, Vito. Is he going to actually do the statues? He only has 348. He says shipping is going to start in the fourth quarter. He doesn't hit that 500.
Hold on,
he doesn't hit the 348. Is what he's sold so far.
They're either already made or they're in production. He made them before the campaign because.
So you think he made 1,000 statues and he's not even going to hit it?
Yeah,
like I said, he told everyone the minimum order was 500, with the idea that if he doesn't hit 500, he would not do the statues. They just would get refunded.
He said that there's no universe in which he's going to refund any. No.
So what do you think he's going to pay the extra?
Yeah,
he's going to have yeah, that's insane. He's an insane man.
Well, let me ask you.
Well, he's not going to. The other option is to go, hey, remember those big statues that I got you guys all excited about? And everybody was patting me on the back and being like, I'm so glad you and Todd McFarlane are best friends. You guys are going to be friends forever, even though because everybody doesn't know how business works. He can't go, oh, by the way, I'm not making statues now. That's not going to happen.
Diamond G says, just sell the statues for $1K. Duh. Just double the price. There it is.
No, he's gonna cut the price in half to sell through the rest of them in order to pay for the minimum order. Almost definitely.
I assume he's just going to pay it out of his pocket.
He doesn't have any money.
Well, he gave whatever. He must have some. You might be right. I don't know if he has any money left. I really don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's going to cancel and be like, well, I guess you guys didn't want it. We listened to our customers, and our customers said they didn't actually want the sticks.
Okay, Eric's whole thing.
He'll blame you. He'll say Vito contacted Todd McFarlane and they canceled the deal. Some
Eric would sooner sell his house and his wife than be he'll make her work the street before he'll admit.
Vito, we figured out last night that the ad from that was in ISOM number 2, that his wife put in there, ended up costing him $360,000 in lost revenue from not being able to use Media Mail. Now, Media Mail.
I know Media Mail. Like, that was something we had speculated about. Like, wait, I think you're not supposed to put an ad in there because then you can't use Media Mail.
That's correct. The only reason Media Mail turns down comic books at all is because there are advertisements in there, which is why graphic novels are eligible.
Yeah.
So, you can put, to ship a comic first class like we do costs about $8 to $10 anywhere in the continental United States. But Media Mail is about $3.20. But it can't have any advertisements in there. So because Eric's wife bullied him into putting that stupid ad in his comic, it ended up costing him.
Putting my ad in that comic.
It ended up costing him an extra $6. $6 per issue per package sold. He sent out 60,000 packages. That's $360,000 his wife cost him. And I hope, for all I know, the jewelry ad made that money back. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying.
It's so bizarre, all of it.
RJ from Critical Blast says you're allowed to put ads for other comics from the same company, and it's still Media Mail.
Yeah, but you can't put stuff. You can't put ads for, what do you call it?
For the jewelry.
Yeah,
like an outside company. But forget the ads. What about the taxes? What's he doing about that? Because he didn't charge anyone tax on the ISOM 1 campaign.
Right. I know.
Is that true?
Yeah, I looked at my my statement from when I bought ISOM 1. There's no tax.
That's not good. That's now he can have tax baked into the price, I believe. I mean, regardless, he's got to pay.
Well, he has to. Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's what you do.
You think he did that? He baked it into the price.
I mean, if he didn't do it,
he's charging tax now. That's why people notice is that he's actually charging tax now.
Let's put it this way: he has to give Uncle Sam something, and the best thing he could do is say, "Oh yeah, I just baked it into the price, and here's how we're going to handle it now." Yeah, but
that would mean more money that he's spent, right, out of that 3.7, because everyone's like, "Oh, that 3.7 is all Eric's," but if some of that is now tax money. Man.
Yeah.
Look,
that's why he's pushing memberships.
Oh, God, memberships doesn't make any freaking sense.
Well, it's free money. It's
not making $8 either.
To be fair, like, memberships are just Patreon. It's like a super Patreon that he set up, and I use Patreon. I get money for nothing too.
Yeah, but you have a Patreon for, like, it's not the Cyberfrog Patreon. It's the Ethan Van Sciver Patreon, right?
That's right. But you know what? But he's realized that they can't be Mega Mac. Eric July. It's got to be Rippaverse so he can roll that right into his business, which is what he's doing. So it's clear that the Rippaverse memberships that used to be Mega Mac memberships are now helping to fund the business. They're filling in any shortfalls. I don't know. I would love to know, and none of us can know, how that's doing. How many people
are Mega Macking?
Yeah. How many people?
Bro, you've been Mega Macking? Yeah, yo. I love Mega Macking.
$50 memberships for Eric. It's probably a few. Yeah.
And his sales
wasn't he crying that he needed like so many?
And his sales pitch to his people was, we need this money to keep making these animations or these live action trailers.
And then he didn't make an animation for the new one. The new one doesn't even have an animation. It's all.
Are you talking about Gooding has an animation?
It's a guy in front of a billboard that is inexplicable. What is the billboard for? Did you watch that thing? And
I watched it. I mean, there is animation. I didn't say it was good. I just said it existed.
It's a guy standing, and then
there's a cow that chews some like grass for like 3 seconds.
Doesn't make any sense.
The only thing that's animated in the whole thing.
All right. Eric July moving differently with his campaigns.
Funding. We've never done that. And that makes more sense in the crowdfunding space because you need the crowd to fund the item. So having those campaigns is as right now one of the best formats, best ways to do that. But you know, we do pre-order we were doing pre-order campaigns and still like the actual campaign format, loading all these items and shit, it just doesn't make sense for us anymore.
Yes,
Why
it does.
not?
If it was,
it makes perfect sense. Here's the problem: is Eric July went into this, and he's one of these like knuckle dummies who's like, I got to do everything.
I've never heard that expression before. What the is a knuckle dummy?
I think you can figure it out, man. It's a guy who spends all day. His knuckles are bigger than his brain. All right, look. So he spends all
almost
day.
Sounds like a slur.
It kind of almost sounds like a slur, which is why I'm not elaborating on it.
Feels like I should.
Yeah, the one that Sturgis called you out on. Yeah.
The point is that in his head he went, okay, everybody's making money from crowdfunding, so I can't do that, even though I am just doing that. And also, everyone is just focusing on making one premier title that's their character and their story. I'm gonna make a bunch of shitty little stories that other people write for me. Like, he has to do everything differently for some reason. He's identified correctly. He's identified like, oh, Marvel and DC aren't making money as effectively as they used to. And it's like, that is a good observation, Eric. You're not the first person to have that observation, but it is a good observation nonetheless. But then his answer is like, well, so that means I should do this crazy. I should be Valiant Comics, basically. And you're like, no, that's not the solution.
Well,
that's a bad idea.
I think you're close, but I think what is actually going on here simultaneously, like Eric recognizes that the Rippaverse sales are declining so drastically that it is becoming a major talking point that is actually causing more of a decline. So as people are seeing less of the we will win and the slow, like, we are losing air, we're losing altitude, more people are hopping off. They just go, I don't have to do this either. I don't have to be a part of a loser. And this is kind of what's happening with the Rippaverse. So he, after seeing the results of Yaira, and Yaira didn't do as well as he thought, he realized we got to pull back from the campaign model and just sort of shit these books out onto a website and let them sit there. And he's planning on doing that a lot. So moving forward, he's going to have much, much more product. Other people are going to come on board and want to be a part of the website with Rippaverse. And he doesn't have the time or the energy to try to promote them and big these people up the way that he tried to do with Rippaverse early on. So he's going to try to make up for the loss of altitude with just more product, more stuff on his website. This has got to be alarming to him, though. I mean, seriously, it was alarming to me.
He must have thought he was at least going to hit 500,000 right away.
500,000, I thought so too. I was like, yeah, surely. I said this one isn't going to hit 1 million. It's going to be the first one that isn't going to hit 1 million. And I mean, to just get 100,000 and change is, it's got to be like I said on Twitter, it's catastrophic, and you can expect Eric to align himself with more like no good nicks and shitheads to come out and attack his detractors because he identifies us correctly as one of the reasons why his business is failing. I mean, it is true.
New places to promote because, like, at this point, he's embarrassed all his friends by having them all go, well, yeah, Eric, oh man, he's making the best comics ever. And now even their audiences are going like, hey, why do you guys keep selling us Eric's shitty comics?
Yeah, these aren't good. I mean, the comics aren't good. There's a million different reasons why this isn't working out. I mean, Eric does not respect creativity. He doesn't understand creative people. He pretends to. He mouths some of the words that he hears. Oh, Mike Barron and Chuck Dixon are like respected, brilliant, amazing. These guys are out of work, and Eric is hiring them and trying to big them up, but Eric doesn't know their comics. He doesn't know why Mike Barron is a good writer. He doesn't know Chuck Dixon at all. He doesn't know any of these
His
people.
favorite comic writers are the Saska sisters. He loves them.
Right, he hires who's available to him, who's
Yeah.
readily available to him, and that's what he does. But really,
His
the
favorite
truth is,
artists
like,
are all Brazilian for some reason. It's interesting.
He hired Glass House.
Yeah,
he hires people.
All from the same studio.
Brazilians.
Yeah.
I saw it, Wizard. I was waiting. It says Eric is speeding up his release timeline, which will decrease his sales numbers because his cards have already maxed out their credit cards, and it's costing him more money to produce new books every 45 days. Horseman Summer. Well, he also has to factor in Yaira was so late that it pushed back 2 books that should have been out already. Horseman was supposed to be out on the 10th of June, which means Gooding was supposed to have already been wrapped up in people's hands by now.
Yeah, but that schedule only matters to him. Like, literally nobody gives a shit. I mean, people, his fans, whenever you put out a book, you know, if we have money, we'll buy it. I mean, his hardcore fans. Like I said, Gooding is really alarming. And Horseman has more appeal than Gooding does. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a small spike, but I think we're way under $1 million now going forward. And everything was working out fine before. I mean, with the old method, even Yaira still managed to bang out $1 million on the first day. I don't know why he's got to change things when he's quote unquote seeing success. Like, why would you do this? This is like, obviously you just gutted your business with this new website. Yeah, it's just as we're going to see the truth of the matter with ISOM number 3, which is going to be funny for 6 or 7 different reasons. One of which, you know, Eric, we live in his head. Like I have I have a couch with an ottoman in Eric's skull, and I'm putting my feet up and I'm just chilling, having a drink, because, you know, Eric July, almost certainly his settlement with the ministry is exactly what they told him initially. Feel free, it's our trademark. Would you like to license it from us? If you want to put out a book called ISOM, then you will be paying us to do that. Now, Eric hates that idea. He said, "This is not your it's my family name. I'm not paying you." Unfortunately, that's my right. Unfortunately, like, doesn't matter. And his lawyers, I'm sure, brought him to the table. So look, you know, you have to pay them if you're going to use ISOM. So Eric has 2 choices. Eric already fainted with that ISOM number 3 was going to be it, and then he was going to take a break and chill and do some other things that he really wanted to do. And then we made fun of him for that because we know why he's saying that. He's got to abandon ISOM. So then suddenly he came back and said, no, I'm going to hire somebody else to do ISOM number 4, or maybe I'm going to come back and do ISOM number 4. Eric is going to pay. So Eric has 2 choices. He can either abandon ISOM, which is a huge L, or he can continue to publish ISOM, and it's a huge L. Or he can publish ISOM under a different name, which is a huge L, and will make Vito laugh because Vito predicted that was what he was going to do. But I mean, you know,
that's what he's going to do. I see through the veil, man.
I think you're all wrong. He's going to do choice 3, which is he's going to bring out the ill-advised omnibus, which has all 3 issues in it.
That's right.
Never. He's going to go, look, I published ISOM 3.
Yeah, but that is option 3. That is option 3, to publish ISOM without putting ISOM on the cover, which is an acknowledgement again that, you know, the settlement he's going to weasel around it.
He'll weasel around it because it's not ISOM that he's publishing. He's publishing the ill-advised omnibus.
You're not hearing me. I'm saying that is choice number 3, and that will support what Vito said. See, he can't put ISOM on the cover without paying the ministry. Okay, so we know that, and he knows that we know that. And if he does anything other than puts ISOM on the cover of his comic book, we know that he's been bent over the table by the ministry. And even if he does put ISOM on the cover of his comic book, we know he's being bent over and he's paying them. So either way, it's funny. You understand?
Oh, it's super funny.
Okay.
Going back to the release schedule, I think it matters for the reason that we were talking earlier with the money. Eric July was expecting money at certain intervals, right? He was expecting Yaira to be out, he would get that money. Then Gooding would be out, he would get that money. Then Horseman would be out, he'd get that money. But with Yaira pushing everything back, 2 paydays have now gone past without him getting paid. So he's probably calculated his losses and his payroll and everything based on these releases. And with those 2 releases being pushed back, he's now himself beyond belief because Deborah's art was so shitty that he had to get White and Joe Bennett to fix it. instead of admitting it and just going, yeah, it wasn't that good. Just put it out.
And all of this would not be a huge problem if he didn't have a giant, stupid warehouse full of all his friends and morons. Just if your comic can get pushed back, and it only matters if you're like running this. Yes, it's like a death knell for a real company, like a professional company that Disney's got to get a certain number of movies out every year. Their quarterly reports look terrible. But Eric, you're supposed to just be making indie comics. You've made this way too complicated for yourself for no reason. Like Yaira getting delayed or not hitting the idea that you needed an indie comic to make $2 million or else your entire thing falls apart is pretty bad. If that's like your baseline. All Eric has to do, why did he hire all these people? What was he thinking? Again, it's because he's got this idea in his head. Like I picture young Rippa sitting around playing with a little toy forklift and going, someday all my friends are going to drive forklifts for me.
What I think too. I really think like
dream.
Yeah, maybe his dad went to a warehouse. Maybe his mom's like,
Eric went to the comic
He's going
store.
to the warehouse. We tell the kids like, oh, he's going to get cigarettes, milk. But maybe his mom said, your daddy's going to the warehouse, Eric. He'll be back. He never came back. So he's like, if I buy a warehouse, maybe my dad will come back to work in the warehouse. That's why he wants more employees. More employees means more chances to hire his dad.
Most kids read a Spider-Man comic book and they go, wow, Spider-Man, I want to be like to be Spider-Man. And Eric got a Spider-Man comic book and he said, I wonder what it's like to own the warehouse where they store all the Spider-Man comic books. And that's what he got out of
all the action happens.
He's like, I could have a big warehouse full of these things, and I could pay all my friends to sit around there and waste my money. And now he's been able to make his dreams come true. So good for him.
Let me ask you guys something, because it seems to me, and I'll defend this take till the end. I think with iSomeone, he had the best of intentions, but after he made the money that he made, everything else in the Rippaverse just became a huge vanity project. And when he started getting detracted, it seems like he was making real world business decisions as a reaction to criticism, just to try to show people up. And who the does that? I don't follow your business enough, EVS, but you're in the space, Vito, you're doing this. What would happen to you if you started making real world business decisions based on criticism that you got from just whoever that's in the space? What would that do to your business? And would you find any advantages to doing that? Or why do you feel that he does what he does and takes the approach that he takes?
What Eric doesn't understand is all the critics are giving him very good business advice. That's the funniest thing, is we're going, hey, man, you got a real good thing going here. You got a bunch of dummies who think they're going to win the culture war by buying your shitty comic book. So just like take their money away from them and spend as little of it as you can on bullshit like scissor lifts and your friendships, your friends have healthcare plans. Okay? Like I looked at Eric and I went, "Oh man, you got a good grift here, buddy. Just stop around and throwing money away." And then he goes, "I'm gonna get a cartoon. I want to make a video game. All this shit." And you're like, "Shut up!" He goes, "What if I had a character and he's a fanciful detective and I make a magazine about it? Just make iSome. Just make iSome, and if you're really bored, make one other thing. Make Alpha Core or Yaira or Gooding. Not all of them. Learn how to tell one story before you tell 20 of them.
Well, he doesn't have to tell a story. He just has to put out a comic book for his pay pigs to buy. If he just kept going on Fox News going, look, we're a successful non-woke company that's fighting the culture where we're winning against those SJWs. They hate us. Marvel is trying to take us out every week. Every campaign would be like 2 million. He made 3.7 million fighting the culture war.
It's actually
he has fans that literally go, look, I still have the original iSome 1 in the packaging, never opened it, sitting there like a trophy.
Well, he destroyed the mythos of what he was creating. iSome, part of the reason iSome sold so well is in people's heads it was interesting. Okay, the actual book might have sucked, but in people's heads it was like, yeah, it's like he's like a not woke takes no shit, don't take no shit black guy on the streets fighting, beating up Darren, who's probably doing drugs, which I also don't like. I don't actually know what's going on because it's not specified ever, but whatever. Like in people's heads, it sounded like a good idea.
I think Darren's the good guy. Darren's
I don't know
facilitating
what
people
Darren
to
does.
leave.
What did he do?
People leave Texas. He's got like an underground railroad of like Texans that want to leave and go back to the U.S.
You need a scene where Darren cuts off a guy's fingers or something, because otherwise, I don't know why I'm not supposed to like this guy. I go, well, hold on. He's a young black entrepreneur. He's got his own thing going. He hires all his friends. Darren is just Eric July, I think. I don't get it. Isn't this you?
Well, you don't know why you're supposed to hate Darren, then why are you
character?
supposed to hate Eric?
I don't know why. None of this makes any sense, but he's just throwing money away. And his whole idea, again, just make one really good story and you'll be happier. But he can't do it for some reason.
What do you mean he can't do it for some reason? Like, very few people can do it.
I know very few people can do it, but like you could hire a guy who knows how to. He's also failed at hiring guys who know how to do it. Which
he's even better at that, actually.
You have to create good characters. You have to have good ideas. He doesn't have those. He took those for granted. He just thought, yeah, here you go. Here's some shitty ideas. These are, I just came up with. Anyway, let's get.
Nobody will pay attention to them, and he was right. That's the worst part. Is he realized most people? I did not realize that most people either A, don't read comics, or B, are not good at reading comics critically. Because like the Yaira trailer we discussed, that was the stupidest thing he could have done, because everybody watches movies. We know when a movie's bad. Everybody's seen a shitty movie. Everyone's seen a shitty TV show. But comics, for some reason, there's like this veil of, well, it's kind of bold what he's doing. And, it doesn't hold your hand or what. You're like, no, it just sucks. What are you talking about? This is all bad.
Timothy says Eric wasted $180,000 upgrading someone else's property. Yeah, he doesn't own that land for the warehouse. He doesn't own the building. He just rents. So whatever upgrades he spent,
that's also really bizarre. Feels like you would just build something. Does he have? He has a house, right? He's got like a little piece of land.
No.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to dox it, but it seems like you get it just built like a big old shed or something. But EBS, you rent a warehouse,
right? Yeah.
Yes. How does the math end up working out for that though?
In terms of what?
Like, I'm saying like it ends up being affordable, like what you're paying for it.
It's another
running your Twitter for you.
No, I mean it's the rent for the warehouse is about $3,700 a month. It's a big space, but yeah, it gets paid for. It's it gets paid for by the business. It's necessary to have a warehouse in order to store all of the action figures and the stuff that we have coming in. It's necessary. Yeah. If I had Eric's stuff, I could probably store it in my garage. It just isn't that much stuff.
Yeah.
He's just got comics, but yeah, toys and things like that. They take up a lot of space. And yeah, I have a space where workers go in there like every day. I got 3 guys, actually 2 guys and his girlfriend, and they go in there every single day and ship out eBay and customer complaints, and then they work on a campaign, and it's easy.
Yeah,
bubble wrap hats.
Yeah, they put bubble wrap around hats. Drives me nuts. And they go, we're out of bubble wrap.
How many scissor lifts are in there though?
No, we don't need scissor lifts. We have a ladder.
But hold on, I'm confused. It's like stuff on a high shelf. Don't you need like a $20,000 scissor lift to get to it?
It isn't necessary. It just isn't necessary.
Wow, that's not what I understand about business. Eric Schley made a whole video about how I should make comics and who I should pay and why not, because he's a businessman.
Yeah,
one book a month, or excuse me, 1 book a year, perhaps.
That was literally the end of the clip. God bless you, Katie.